The truth is, women don't melt over, "Have you eaten?" They don't swoon at, "I miss you." What pulls them in is uncertainty, the kind of message that makes them pause, reread, wonder what game you're playing. But you're texting like you're about to lose her. Wrong move. A stoic man doesn't fear loss because he is what women fear losing. You text less, but every word hits like a strike. You don't plead, you lead. You don't explain, you provoke thought. You're not online 24/7 because you've got a life worth living, not one that waits to be loved. And that's why she can't resist you. Not because you're sweet, but because she feels your absence. In this video, you'll learn how to send one line that she reads 3 times, how to pull back at the right moment and make her chase, how to make women pursue you using nothing but texts, no gimmicks, no childish flirting. This is messaging as an art, rooted in psychology, Stoic philosophy, and the mindset of a man who knows his worth. You don't chase love. You become the man no woman dares to let go. Start now. 1. Don't reply too fast. Make her wait. She used to like you until you replied within 5 seconds. Trust me, that's the moment you went from intriguing to too easy. And women? They never get addicted to what's too easy. You text like lightning. You've seen the message the second it comes in. You're proving one thing. Your life has nothing better going on. And you think, that's showing I care. That's showing emotional hunger. A reflex, not a choice. Stoic men don't react. They respond. Reacting fast? That's instinct. Silence? That's a strategy. You don't have to vanish. You just have to know when to be deliberately absent. The Zygarnik effect, the power of unfinished moments. A classic study by psychologist Bluma Zygarnik found people remember what's incomplete more than what's been resolved. If you reply too fast, you just finished the emotional arc for her. You closed the box of curiosity. You gave her no reason to keep thinking. But if you pause at the right time, her brain starts to fill in the blanks. And that's when you live rent-free in her mind, even without sending a single word. You don't need fake busyness. You need a life that's so real, so engaging, you don't have time to reply instantly. Hit the gym, get to work, write, read. Become the kind of man people wait for, not the one who's always available. And here's the thing, it's not about playing hard to get. It's about preserving your value. A man who knows who he is, what he brings, and what he wants doesn't prove it with fast replies. He doesn't chase opportunities because he is the opportunity. Women don't crave constant presence. They crave the tension of wanting someone they don't fully have. And if you learn to disappear strategically, you tap into the most powerful trigger in human desire, scarcity. But just replying slow, that's not enough. To make her truly miss you, you need to craft messages that open loops, that don't say too much, just enough to make her read it again and again. That's exactly what we'll break down next. 2. Don't say it all. Leave room. Stir the imagination. You used to say everything, and then what happened? You spoke from the heart. You opened it wide. You laid it all out. She stepped back, then vanished. No explanation, no clear reason. It wasn't because you weren't good enough. It was because you were too easy to read, too transparent, too soon. Listen closely. Women don't get addicted to what they understand. They get addicted to uncertainty, to not knowing what you're thinking, to not being sure if you really like them or if you're just testing the waters. And imagination? That's what brings them back. Not sweet words, but just enough absence to make them wonder about you every night before bed. Need an example? You text, "I'm having coffee alone." Predictable, flat, nothing to imagine. Try this instead. "There's something here that reminds me of you." Boom, her brain switches on. What is it? Where is he? Who is it? Is he being honest or playing a game? Is there another woman? One line. But it activates 3 emotional zones in her brain: curiosity, jealousy, desire for control. You just made her think of you without saying another word. The Stoic man's principle: don't overshare. Say just enough to make her lean in. You don't speak less because you lack depth. You speak less because you understand value. And the real value always lives in what's left unsaid. According to Harvard Business Review, 2020, when people don't get the full story, their brain fills the gaps with emotional guesses and gets more attached than if they knew the whole truth. Professor Jerome Bruner from Harvard once said, "People are more persuaded by incomplete stories. Tell her everything, she listens, leaves space, she dives in, and once she starts interpreting you in her own mind, you're already there. Not as the guy she knows, but as the man she hasn't figured out yet." Ever done this? Sent texts longer than short novels? Explained your emotions line by line? Tried to prove what a good man you are? If yes, sorry to say, you killed the mystery that could have been magnetic. Silence at the right moment is sexier than 1,000 pickup lines. She doesn't need to know who you are if she's already hooked on who she thinks you are. Don't give her the full story. Give her a reason to ask for more. Try these. "I just saw something pretty interesting, but telling you would ruin it. Some things are better said in person." Now you've planted a seed of curiosity. Now she sees you as someone who holds back. Not because you're closed off, but because you choose what's worth revealing. Don't be a book she can finish in one night. Be the novel she reads slowly, guessing the next chapter in her own head. But even mystery has limits. If you text too much, reply too fast, show up all the time, then your presence becomes noise. To hold value, and you must learn to appear less, but make every appearance something she has to read twice. And that, my friend, is what we'll unlock next. 3. Leverage scarcity. Less noise, more impact. Women don't leave you because you text too little. They leave because you text too much, with nothing worth remembering. Read that line again, because that's the part 90% of men never figure out. You text her every morning, "Hope you have a nice day." Every night, "Sweet dreams." Midday, "What are you up to?" You think you're showing care. She's slowly disconnecting, not because you're wrong, but because you're becoming predictable, too available, too much. Here's the harsh truth. The more there is, the less it's worth. The cheaper it feels and the faster it gets ignored. Ever seen an ad that's everywhere? At first you notice it, then you skip past it. Eventually it annoys you. Not because it's bad, but because it stopped feeling special. She feels the same. The more you show up, the faster you get labeled. Yeah, I know already. According to the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, Cialdini, 1975, there's something called the scarcity effect. Humans value things more when they believe they're rare or disappearing. And a Harvard study, 2020, found this. People who don't respond instantly or reply on their own schedule are seen as higher value and less emotionally dependent. Meaning, the less you appear, the more intrigue you create. The fewer your texts, the longer you stay in her mind. So instead of texting more, text better. Don't fill the space with words. Leave just enough silence for her to miss your presence. You don't need 10 texts a day. You need one sent at the right time with the right energy that feels like a man speaking, not a boy reacting. A Stoic man doesn't text to get attention. He texts like he's choosing to share a glimpse of a bigger life. Example, don't say, "You eaten yet? I'm at work. It's sunny today." Say, "Saw something today that felt backwards. Reminded me of the way you see the world." She won't reply right away, but she'll read it again. She'll think. She'll picture you. In a way, a 3-word text never could. Being rare won't cost you points, but being constant will cost you value. The unforgettable don't text every day. They make you wish they would. The rarer you are, the more you're worth. Simple as that. So here's a question. When was the last time she texted first? Or are you always the one typing first, sending the emoji first, waiting for approval? If you truly grasp the art of scarcity, you'll stop trying to maintain connection. Instead, you'll create a selective absence, so she's the one who wants to reconnect. But remember this, scarcity only has power when you're busy building something bigger, a mission, a purpose, a path that makes you too engaged with life to always be available for chat. And that is the next lesson if you want to be the man she can't forget. 4. Text like a man with a mission. No mission? Then every text you send becomes a plea for attention. Harsh truth? Good, because if that doesn't sting a little, you're still the kind of man she forgets by tomorrow. You have no direction. You're available almost all the time, and you're using text to chase a feeling of connection. You ask, "What are you up to? How was your day? Want to hang out sometime?" Sounds caring, but in reality, it's empty, because you bring no energy except the energy of someone lost. Here's the truth. Women are not drawn to idle men. They're drawn to those building something bigger than themselves. You don't need to be a millionaire. You don't need to be the next startup founder. You just need to be chasing something real, with a plan, with focus, and every text you send should carry the scent of that journey. Psychology backs this up. A 2014 study from the University of Rochester found people who pursue clear goals are seen as more attractive, more trustworthy, and more desirable as long-term partners because they signal stability and leadership. Put simply, she doesn't need you to be everything. She just needs to feel that you're going somewhere, and maybe she wants in. Example, don't text, "I'm bored, got nothing to do." You free? Text this instead. "Finished work late today, but something about the road home tonight felt different. Weirdly made me think of you." You're not asking to meet. You're sharing a real moment, natural, no pressure, nothing extra. And most of all, it doesn't pull you off your path. Don't be a man looking for a girl. Be the man on a mission and let her wonder, am I missing out on a journey worth joining? A man with no purpose? His texts are noise. You don't need to be loved, you need to be followed, because your path makes sense. Your text should feel like an invitation, not a cry for attention. So ask yourself, are you texting as a man who leads or a man begging to be filled? And remember, a man with purpose doesn't text to hold on. He focuses on his course. He knows when to stop and when to step back. Not out of anger, not to play games, but because he understands the power of absence at the right moment. 5. Know when to step back and let her come back. The more you try to hold on, the further she slips away. The more you know how to step back, the closer she wants to return. Sounds backwards? Not at all. It's just human psychology. People only realize the value of something when there's a real chance of losing it. Ever been in this situation? She starts replying slower, stops using emojis, watches your story, but doesn't react. Day by day, you feel her drifting. And what do? You text more. You reach out more. You think, I've got to do something to save this. Wrong move, because every time you try to pull her back, you're silently screaming one thing. You're afraid of losing her. And a man who's afraid of losing is rarely a man worth keeping. Here's a truth most won't say out loud. Strategic silence beats 1,000 explanations. You don't step back to punish. You step back because your presence should cost something. According to a 2012 study from the Journal of Neuroscience, UCSF, temporary disconnection activates the brain's reward system, making people feel more drawn, more curious, more magnetized. Silence at the right time doesn't make you disappear. It makes you unforgettable. She's pulling away? It doesn't always mean she's done. She might be testing you. She wants to know, will you lose composure? Will you lose yourself? Will you throw away your values just to chase a message that never came? And every time you react emotionally, you're confirming, she matters more than you do. Instead, step back like a musician ending the last note at the perfect moment. A melody that stops at just the right time, leaves the audience craving more. A man who knows how to vanish makes her wonder, why do I feel something missing? Ask yourself, have you ever stopped texting without checking if she saw your story? Have you ever walked away without rereading her old messages in secret? Have you ever stayed silent, not to punish her, not to manipulate, but simply to return to the strongest version of you? If your answer is no, then you haven't truly stepped back. You're just pausing, hoping she'll care. A Stoic man knows, when I disappear, I'm not giving up. I'm coming home, to myself. You stop, not because you need her attention to feel worthy. You step away because your presence isn't something to be taken for granted. Withdrawal at the right moment is a weapon for the self-aware, not the wounded. A real man doesn't say he's okay. He lives like it and lets silence prove the rest. She'll come back, not because you begged, but because you stopped asking and started becoming. And once you know when to reach out, how to text with real presence, and when to go silent to create true value, you'll stop chasing connections and start becoming the kind of man people never forget. In summary, this is not a trick, not some dating hack, and it's definitely not for guys who just want to pass time with casual texts. What you've just learned is a philosophy, a mindset, not just for texting, but for living as a man with weight, because how you text reflects how you live. You reply instantly because you fear losing her. In real life, you'll also react instead of taking control. You overshare because you fear being misunderstood. Then you likely give away your mystery too, because you're not confident enough to keep your depth for those who earn it. You keep texting because you're afraid of being forgotten. Then odds are you live like you're not enough, always needing someone else to validate your worth. That's why women don't feel the pull. Not because you're not good enough, but because you're too exposed. There's nothing left to explore. No sense of pursuit. But now, you've changed. You know how to slow down, to build tension. You know how to hint, not explain. You know how to show up less, but every time you bring depth. You text with purpose, not out of emptiness. And most of all, you know when to walk away and let silence speak for you. So after everything, what's at the core? Control. Not control over her, control over yourself, control over your emotions, over your expectations, over that constant urge to get a reply right now. Because a Stoic man understands, I don't need attention to feel enough. I create presence, I don't chase it. She's not the reward, she's the witness to the way I live with purpose. You don't need flash. You don't need performance. Just text with clarity. Live with truth and know when to stop. Because in a world full of noise, the man who knows when to speak and when to stay silent is the one others respect most. If this video didn't feel like typical advice, if it hits somewhere deep, like the way you've once texted or the way you've once lived, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with another man who needs it. Or go back to part 1, not just to listen, but to absorb. And if you want more about Stoicism, emotional control, and how to live as a man who needs no validation, hit subscribe, because this isn't short-term content, it's long-term strength. Thank you for staying till the very end. Not everyone does, but if you're still here, I know you're part of the few, the kind who doesn't just want to understand women, but wants to understand himself first. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, stay centered, speak less, but let every word carry weight.